to sell.
Yeah, that was a good point. Chris, John, stand by if you would, because joining us now exclusively is Democratic Congresswoman Frederica Wilson of Florida. Congresswoman, thanks so much for making time for us this morning.
Good morning.
So I want to just, before we get into the specifics of what General Kelly said, I just want to get your thoughts on everything that has transpired over the past 48 hours. This very public fight that you seem to be engaged in with President Trump and General Kelly. President Trump just last night, in case you missed it, at about 11 p.m., tweeted about you. He says the fake news is going crazy with wacky Congresswoman Wilson, a Democrat, who was secretly on a very personal call and gave a total lie on content. What's your response to all of this?
You know, my emphasis today is on my constituents and helping them lay our hero to rest. That's where my head is today. And I'm also concerned about him and his last moments. I want to know why he was separated from the rest of the soldiers. Why did it take 48 hours for them to find him? Was he still alive? Was he kidnapped? What's going on? I thought you were supposed to put your comrade across your shoulder and get on the helicopter with the dead and the wounded. Why did they leave him? I am distraught, and so is the family. There are so many questions that must be answered. And I have written a letter for an investigation. They keep saying to me, oh, we're going to give you a classified briefing. I can hardly wait for that classified briefing because I am concerned about my constituent today, and I am concerned that he is not able to have an open casket funeral, and that is very painful to his family.
Oh, we can only imagine how devastating all of this has been for his family. And you're not alone. Look, Senator John McCain, so many people are calling for an investigation into exactly what happened here so those questions can be answered. But I'm curious, Congressman, did you hear General Kelly's remarks in the press briefing room yesterday?
I heard his remarks, and I heard him say that I bragged that I secured the money for the building of the FBI building in Miramar, and that's a lie. You know, I feel sorry for General Kelly. He has my sympathy for the loss of his son, but he can't just go on TV and lie on me. I was not even in Congress in 2009 when the money for the building was secured. So that's a lie. How dare he? However, I named the building at the behest of Director Comey with the help of Speaker Boehner, working across party lines. So he didn't tell the truth, and he needs to stop telling lies on me.
Well, his point was, I think, that, and though you're right, he didn't get the facts right on that, was that empty barrels make the most noise. And he was using that, he was likening that to you. Basically, that you're
I think that's a racist term, too. I'm thinking about that when we looked it up in the dictionary, because I had never heard of an empty barrel. And I don't like to be dragged into something like that. The only thing I want to be dragged into right now is bring back our girls who are the victims of Boko Haram in Nigeria. I have been fighting this fight for almost 4 years. 276 girls were kidnapped from their dormitory in Nigeria by Boko Haram. Boko Haram split, and now one sect is with ISIS. And that multinational task force that was set up by Congress with Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria, my constituent was there. Sergeant Jackson was there on detail. He was not fighting, he was giving advice, and he was killed and abandoned. And I feel guilty because this is what I do every Wednesday in Congress.
Yeah.
Bring back our girls. We wear red. We're concerned about Boko Haram being the most vicious terrorist organization in the world, and we never really hear about Boko Haram.
Yeah.
And Boko Haram and ISIS combined, and they killed my son.
You mean LaDavid Johnson, Sergeant Johnson?
LaDavid.
Congresswoman, you know, there are just a
role model son. My role model son.
You were his mentor. I understand how long you go back with his family, and you knew him from childhood. But there are some things that I just want to get straight
and all
about
of his brothers and all of his cousins.
Yes, you're more than obviously their congressman, their representative, and they're more than your constituents. But Congressman, I do want to get a couple of details straight here, because it sounds like there was a real disconnect in terms of what President Trump was trying to say to Sergeant Johnson's wife and what you heard. And so I just want to go to that point, because we now know from General Kelly and his remarks yesterday that the president came to him and said, these calls are hard. What do you think I should say? And General Kelly was able to share what the casualty officer told him. And he shared with the president what he thought was an effective message. So let me just play that moment for you of what General Kelly said.
He said, Kel, he was doing exactly what when he was killed. He knew what he was getting into by joining that 1%. He knew what the possibilities were, because we're at war. And when he died, in the 4 cases we're talking about, Niger, my son's case in Afghanistan, when he died, he was surrounded by the best men on this earth, his friends. That's what the president tried to say to 4 families the other day.
So, Congresswoman, when you hear General Kelly say that the words, he knew what he was getting into, that sounds an awful lot like what you say the president said to Sergeant Johnson's wife. Does hearing General Kelly change how you heard that conversation?
That is not a good message to say to anyone who has lost a child at war. You don't sign up because you think you're going to die. You sign up to serve your country. And when he says he died surrounded by his friends, he was abandoned. That did not apply to him. He was abandoned for 2 days, for 48 hours.
Yeah.
Why? Why
Yes.
didn't they pick him up and put him on their shoulders, and like they did the other fallen comrades?
Yes, I understand.
Put him on a
I mean, General
helicopter
Kelly
and take him to safety. He could have still been alive. So when you say he died surrounded by his friends,
General Kelly, just to be clear,
or
General Kelly
this
there is talking about his own son. He's talking about
No, but we're
the
talking about a
casualty officer
specific-
that
we're
told
talking
him
about-
that.
We're talking about a specific soldier, and every soldier is different, and every family is different. And when you have a young mother who is 6 months pregnant with 2 small kids, you say, I am so sorry that you lost your husband. Maisha Johnson, you call her by her name, and you say your husband. You don't say your guy. They were married. And you say, I am so sorry. You have our deepest sympathy. If there's anything this nation can do to ease your pain as your president, please let me know. I am so sorry. That's what I would have said. And that's what he needs to practice to say. He doesn't need to talk about what people sign up for. That is unconscionable.
General Kelly also said yesterday that he was absolutely stunned by your reaction, knowing from where he sits what the president intended, that he was stunned that you had misinterpreted it, according to him, and that he was stunned. He said he was also stunned that you would have listened in on that call, because to him, those calls are sacred. Can you respond to that?
I wasn't listening in. I was in a car where a call was being taken on on a speakerphone. I wasn't listening in. Please don't characterize it as that. And I still go back to what I said from the beginning. Call her by her name, Myeshia Johnson. Call him by his name, Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. He is not her guy. He is her husband. And that is the part that hurt her the most.
General Kelly.
That is the part.
Something I think that is important to bring up. General Kelly said that he was so stunned and frankly hurt by your words and your reaction that in order to gather his thoughts, he had to go to Arlington National Cemetery, and he spent an hour and a half walking among the gravestones there of the people that he thinks, you know, have made obviously the biggest sacrifice and are the finest people in our country. And because he was hurt that way, I'm wondering if you have anything you'd like to say to General Kelly today.
To General Kelly, I have lost members of the Role Models Project in war before, during the Iraq War. We know what it is. We feel for you, just like we feel for LaDavid's parents and LaDavid's wife. You have my deepest sympathy, but I would never say to you, your son knew what he was signing up for. That would not be a part of my sympathy message to you.
How does this public fight that you're having with the president and now General Kelly, who called you out obviously yesterday, how does this end? Is it time for you all to get on a phone conversation? Is it time for you to speak to the president directly?
It probably could end with the president reaching out to the members of the 5,000 Role Models of Excellence boys and helping me to make them good men in society, instead of trying to degrade their sponsor who's working so hard every day to keep them on the right path, sending them to college, and trying to keep them away from the criminal justice system. If he wants to help us, I sent something to him with the Congressional Black Caucus. It's called the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. It would help us if he helped make that a law and establish that commission in the White House. That would help our entire community.
And how about, Congresswoman, from your end? Are you willing to allow today that it's possible that you misinterpreted what the president's intentions were in that phone call to Sergeant Johnson's wife?
There's nothing to misinterpret. He said what he said. I just don't agree with it. I don't agree that that is what you should say to grieving families.
But in terms of his intention not being
that
callous, in terms of his intention not being callous, and maybe he got the tone wrong, but that you misinterpreted his intention or his callousness.
Did I miss? I think my intentions are not important in this today. This has to do with the family that's grieving. It's their intentions. They were hurt. This is not a question to ask me, because I can only imagine how she feels. And she was distraught that he kept saying, my guy, your guy. Not your husband, your guy. She said he didn't even know LaDavid's name. So that was the most painful part.
Can you tell us?
The other most painful part is she still doesn't know why her husband was missing for 48 hours.
Yeah.
So let's get to the real basis of why everyone is so upset and everyone is so grief-stricken. It has absolutely nothing to do with the phone call. It has a lot to do with what we're talking about now.
Can you tell us how they are today? I know that this is going to be a very tough day for them, for Myeshia and her children.
This is a very tough day for them. Everyone is trying to get through this. Everyone is tired of the back and forth, of the TV cameras, and the only reason I came on this morning was to say that I do not appreciate someone lying on me. If you lie on me, I'm going to answer, because I'm not going to let you get away with it. That's the way I teach my boys, and that's the way I live my life. Don't lie on me. And also, we're hoping that very soon everything will calm down and we will watch a new birth, a new baby born to the Johnson family, a new baby girl. We're looking forward to that. And we will be there to support our heroes' family. The 5,000 role models is comprised of thousands of people, all races, creeds, and colors, strong men of honor, who will love those children and love his wife, love his aunt and uncle, love his brothers, love all the little nieces and nephews, and we will be there for them. He is our son. He's our hometown boy, and we're going to do everything we can to lift that family up. And we call out to America to join us as we lift up Sergeant LaDavid Johnson.
I know that you're trying to raise scholarship money for his children, and we want to give you an opportunity, or at least acknowledge that you've already raised, I think, $600,000 for his children. Here's the GoFundMe.
Yes.
Here's the GoFundMe page for his 2 children and the one on the way.
Yes, and because we want them to be comfortable and to be able to go to college and live a good life. And they won't have their father to provide for them. So the 5,000 role models is making that happen. And we are so proud of our hero, so proud. And before long, we're going to name a street after him in Miami Gardens. So when his kids pass down that street, they'll say, that was named for my daddy. He was a hero in the Army. He was a hero. He was a Green Beret. I can just see his little son, LaDavid Jr., now pointing that out to his friends.
Well, Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, we appreciate you coming on New Day with your perspective on all of this and helping us to remember LaDavid Johnson. Thank you very much.